What's up, Caps fans? Tonight, I'm going to scream like Steve Dangle because we're playing against the Leafs! Nah, just kidding. I cannot do that. I would be losing my voice all of the time. Are you kidding me? My vocal cords are not built for that. I need to save my screaming for when it counts, like when we outshoot a team 38-17 and we lose 4-1! Okay, so two things. Firstly, this is from the Deserve to Win meter from moneypuck.com for tonight's game. Great website. If you've never seen it, never used it, you should definitely check it out. That's moneypuck.com. All types of analytical stuff on there. It's a great site. But yeah, so the Deserve to Win meter from moneypuck.com for tonight's game, Caps versus Leafs, where based on puck possession and scoring chances generated and all of those things, the Caps deserved to win this game by a score of approximately 4-2. Or as you can see, it was actually by a score of 4 to 1.95 actually, but you know, we'll round up. And then secondly, I just have to say this, okay? 1967. 1967. What was happening in 1967? Lyndon B. Johnson was the president of the United States. Aretha Franklin had just released R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Elvis and Priscilla Presley, they got married. And the Washington Capitals still would not become a franchise for 7 more years. So 1967, suffice to say, was a long fucking time ago. Now, I bring this up because I have heard rumors that allegedly the Toronto Maple Leafs actually have won the Stanley Cup before. But that alleged victory was so goddamn long ago that I wasn't even close to being alive yet, and so I can't confirm it for sure. Video evidence wasn't as readily available back then, of course. I think most people were still employing carrier pigeons to get the word around, so we will just have to take their word for it. Anyways, you see this here? You see this? Can you guys see that? You see this? So this is how many teams are in the National Hockey League currently, okay? There are 32 teams in the National Hockey League. These right here are 32 strawberries. And this right here, this is how many teams were in the National Hockey League when the Toronto Maple Leafs last won the Stanley Cup, okay? They all fit in one hand. Okay, 6 strawberries is not very many strawberries. It wasn't very many teams in the National Hockey League back when the Leafs last won the Stanley Cup. So yeah, like I said, they all fit in one hand, okay? One hand, and my hands aren't even that big. Do you see what I'm saying here? Okay, so this game in the first period, it was all about patterns for the Washington Capitals, because if you have watched my last few post-game videos, you know that I have been pointing out how the Caps are kind of fulfilling the same prophecy over and over again here in the first periods of these hockey games. They come out, they have a great start again, and you know, that's a pattern at this point. The Washington Capitals have been having great starts. They've been outshooting teams heavily in the first periods of games. They did it again tonight. They are outshooting the Toronto Maple Leafs 7-0 when the Caps score the game's first goal. Okay, that's big. It was courtesy of Nicklas Backstrom, and yes, that's right. As I just said, we have finally scored first. For the first time this season, in obviously our 5th game of the season. But not so fast, because Leafs head coach Sheldon Keefe, he challenges the goal for goalie interference. And to be clear, even the Leafs broadcast, okay, they were even saying that Sheldon Keefe is just kind of grasping for straws here, as Alex Ovechkin only went into the crease because he was being tripped by a Leafs player. That's the only reason why he was even in the crease. He did still manage to avoid Leafs netminder Joseph Woll. And in fact, he wasn't even touching Woll, who was already on his ass and flopping around like a fish. Must have been taking lessons from Ilya Samsonov. But yeah, he was already flopping around prior to Ovi even being tripped in there. So you are allowed, just to be clear, you are allowed to be in the crease so long as you are not contacting the goaltender in the NHL. This isn't the double IHF where you can't step foot in the crease, which only makes this call all the more frustrating because this is the NHL. Those are not the rules. But for some reason, of course, the Leafs get their way, as they always do, and the goal is called back. So it remains a 0-0 hockey game. Now, I have been talking about patterns with this Caps team, right? So here is another example of that. After the great start by the Caps, the Leafs, they then get back-to-back power plays and they score a goal on the second one. So here the Caps are once again, they're out shooting the Leafs 11-3 when the Leafs go up 1-0 thanks to a power play goal. So again, patterns, right? It's the third game in a row where the Caps completely dominate the first period. They heavily outshoot the other team, but they cannot buy a goal for themselves, and then the other team takes the lead on the power play. But that being said, it still was an unbelievable period of hockey in that first period for the Washington Capitals. They outshot the Leafs 17-5 in the period, and actually Alex Ovechkin by himself also outshot the entire Leafs team in the first period by a count of 7-5. Those 7 shots on goal by Ovi in the first period were the most by any player for any team in one period of an NHL game this season. Remember when he didn't have a shot on net for 2 games in a row there for the first time in his entire 19-year NHL career, and ESPN was acting as if the sky was falling and Ovi has to retire tomorrow because he's no good anymore. That didn't last very long, did it? So the Caps head to the second period down 1-0, despite, like I said, playing a very strong first period once again. And in the second period, Evgeny Kuznetsov, he rings one off of the crossbar, and the shots on goal are 19-6 in favor of the Capitals when the Leafs make it 2-0, okay? And then the shots on goal are 20-7 when the Leafs make it 3-0. Shots on goal are 22-9 when the Leafs make it 4-0. And I'm not going to lie, I can't lie, Darcy Kuemper, bro, we need a save on one or probably all 4 of those, if I'm being honest. Okay, I can excuse him for the 4th one because it is a power play goal and it's a guy left wide open, all alone in front. But the first 3 goals, I'm sorry, but none of those are particularly good goals to me. I'm a goalie, by the way. I didn't like any of those goals, those being the first 3 goals, like I said. Need to get a save, especially when your team in front of you is playing their asses off and generally dominating the hockey game. But anyways, it's another power play goal for the Leafs. And honestly, I didn't even know Austin Matthews was even playing in this game. Until he scored here on the power play with the second period already nearly finished. He was pretty invisible, to be honest. Caps captain Alex Ovechkin, on the other hand, he was absolutely everywhere tonight. And he finally scored in this one on his 12th shot of the night with 11 seconds remaining in the second period. And actually, after 2 periods of play, Ovechkin was tied in shots on net with the entire Leafs roster. That's after, like I said, a full 40 minutes of play. One player on the Caps has as many shots on net as an entire team. That is just insane. So for the night, Ovechkin finished with 14 shots on goal, the most of any player by a wide margin, and 14 shots on goal in a single game is also just one off of Ovechkin's personal career high of 15. He is 38 fucking years old, but you certainly wouldn't know it. So yeah, 14 shots in the game for Alex Ovechkin. And like I said, the Leafs as a team had 17 shots. So just crazy stuff from Alex Ovechkin. And like I said, for the game as a whole, the Caps outshot the Leafs 38-17. I am kind of skipping over the third period just because, it was pretty uneventful, at least in terms of actual scoring. There were lots of scoring chances created by the Caps once again, but they still are not going in the net. So, more posts, more crossbars again today as well. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and, get mad at the guys for this game. They played a great hockey game. They really, really, really did. They were about as dominant as you can possibly be without winning the game. And they just have absolutely no puck luck right now at all. None. And it's like, we don't even need good luck, right? Like, we just need not bad luck. That's all we need. Just not bad luck. I don't think that's asking too much, but apparently the hockey gods disagree. Okay, so last thing before we get out of here, Ryan Reaves check-in, right? Ryan Reaves is a guy who likes to make everything about himself, so I'll do it for him here. Yeah, I mean, looking at this, zeros across the board on the score sheet, no surprise there. He barely played any minutes, also no surprises there. Sheldon Keefe, he had him stapled to the bench until it was 4-1, and there wasn't enough time left on the clock for the Caps to make a comeback. Otherwise, he was not letting that guy's skates touch the ice for the Leafs, right? Lest he, blow the lead for the team. So, but yeah, I mean, like when the score is 4-1 and there's barely any time left on the clock, you can give the guy a pity shift or two, right? Tom Wilson as well, he asked him to dance at one point in this game, but Reaves didn't want to go. What can you say? I'm sure that he will try to spin that the other way in the media, just like he had tried to spin him getting his ass kicked by Arbor Jacki in the Leaf season opener as well. List of career accomplishments for Ryan Reaves. Why don't we do that? So yeah, Ryan Reaves, aka Mr. Minus or Mr. Pressbox. Let's see, he's been on the ice for 4 goals against already this season, despite the fact that the season is only 6 games old and despite the fact that he plays only 6 minutes a night. So, that's quite an accomplishment, right? I don't know anyone else who could pull that off. He's played for 6 different teams as well because no one wants to be around him for more than a couple of years. He is a career -38, again, despite barely playing any minutes. Very impressive. He averages 1 goal every 14 games. That's hilarious. And perhaps his biggest accomplishment, of course, he got to watch Tom Wilson and the Washington Capitals hoist Lord Stanley's Cup in his home rink on his ice as a healthy scratch of the Vegas Golden Knights, who also, did not trust his play enough to let him out onto the ice when it counted the most. So the list goes on and on and on for Ryan Reaves. Quite a career, right? And by quite a career, I just mean it's amazing that this guy is still employed. All right, Caps fans, that is it for it today. If you liked the video, please hit that like button down below and click on that subscribe button as well. The Caps are back on the ice tomorrow in New Jersey. That is a 7:30 p.m. Eastern time start. So in New Jersey against the Devils, of course, and we will have the post-game reaction for that one as well. So we will chat then. Until next time, babes, and as always, let's go Caps.